Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Anniversaire de Historique for Race 3 from the Spa Grand Prix circuit. It's going to be a 50-minute long race around one of the world's best racetracks. But before we get there, let's have a look at the current championship standings. Mitch leading the way by 2 points ahead of SGP on 33. Conrad sits in third place on 28 points, one ahead of Demon R on 27. Twilight's in fifth place and he's 1 point ahead of Dave the Harp in sixth, who's 3 ahead of Steve F1. After Steve F1's disconnection last week, he sits on 17 points. Fluffy Planet sits in 8th place on 16 points, just ahead of Rich Blues in 9th, who's got 12. Formerly Gary is in 10th on 7 points, and then we've got Bunsel in 11th on 5 points. And we have SRI, Tyler, Jason, Jimmy and Hay all yet to score a point, and the reserve driver Cyber still has not been able to take up that reserve seat yet, which is a bit of a shame, I will admit. Okay, let's take a look at the qualifying result then for race 3 at Spa. And on pole position we have got a DGT League SGP with a time of 2 minutes 4 seconds .269, a couple of tenths ahead of Mitch in second place. However, is very close on row 2 with Demon R on 2 minutes 4.483 and Steve F1 on 204.510. Second, third and fourth extremely close with their lap times. On row 3 we're going to see Conrad lining up alongside Fluffy Planet. Conrad also very close with the lap times there as well, but a bit of a gap to Fluffy in 6th. On row 4 we see Jason for the first time in this championship, 205.4, a decent time for him, and SRI only just beaten to that 7th place by 0.008 of a second. On row 5 we see Twilight lining up alongside Dave the Harp. Could be a feisty lineup, that one, with their lap times also very close together, and they are just ahead of Jimmy, who makes his, I think it might be his first race of the championship. Good to see him on the track in P11. Bunsel takes P12, I think he had a problem in qualifying, as did Rich Blues, who starts off P13. Still got a couple of drivers away, Hay, Tyler and formerly Gary, unable to race today, which is a bit of a shame, but let's hand over to the commentary team and check out all of the action from the Spa Grand Prix circuit. And joining me on commentary this week, once again, it's Connor. How are you, Connor?
Yeah, I'm alright, Dave. I've slept here for the last 3 weeks, so I'm looking forward to watching a race.
And a good Belgian waffle, hopefully. I gotta say, I do love a good waffle, especially, well, I don't like blue waffles though.
You do plenty of waffling on.
Oh, yeah, that's easily done. I mean, someone that does a lot of waffling as well is SGP, who's sitting on pole position here in Spa. A rolling start again, where a number of the drivers are going to have to go through the final chicane, actually drive it. SGP won't know and Mitch won't, as the lights go out and away they go. SGP is away here at Spa. It's a short run to the first corner. We'll have a look in the background though, see if everybody's getting around though. Well, it's the final corners, but they've actually got to drive through it to start the lap.
Yeah, and they actually start going into the marbles. I don't know why the game takes them onto the marbles. Gives them a compromised exit.
Fluffy's on the
Fluffy. Oh, that was the slowest spin I've ever seen, but he manages to collect it in the wall.
I think SRI's still having a bit of an incident there as well. I think he was collected in that. Dave the Harp just managed to avoid him. What this has meant though is that SGP and Mitch, who both were on the straight when the lights went out, they both get a jump on the rest of the field. So SGP leading the way into the chicane at the end of the Carmel straight, and that's Twilight coming under pressure from Dave the Harp into the Carmel chicane. All side by side, they're going to go.
Yeah, it's a very tight corner as they go through the left-hander, but Dave the Harp's actually gone for a dive there. That's a good move as they still battle it out. Bunsel's going to look like he's going to try and gain something from this, but he nearly runs into the back of Twilight.
Yeah, I'll give Dave the RP 8.4 for that dive. Mitch going into Puon now, a phenomenal corner, but a corner that if you run a little bit wide, you're going to be in lots and lots of trouble. Although luckily nowadays you're also into lots of tarmac area. I tell you what though, these two at the front have got a big gap already over third place.
Yeah, they have, and I think that start has helped them a lot. They've just managed to. They haven't attacked each other, so they've managed to get away from Demon and Steve F1. But I'm sure that the guys like Demon and Steve F1 will come back at them.
Yeah, I would have thought so. As Mitch is definitely getting close to the back of SGP now. SGP kind of going a little bit defensive. Mitch is ever so close. He's got to run, but he's going to go for it. I wouldn't. This is the interesting thing about Spa. I wouldn't bother overtaking unless it was into, or not even into. Oh, it's a lovely move by Mitch. But yeah, SGP's not fighting this because he'll just overtake him on the Kenmore straight now. So that's where I would look at doing my overtakes if I was racing around here today.
Yeah, SGP actually gets crossed up there as he maybe locked the rears, but he's still got a good run as he actually angled the corner off, so he's going to have a good run down into Eau Rouge, and then over the top of the brow of the hill he should get a decent tour.
That he should, and if not, you can always try and give it a bit of a finger. He's definitely in the slipstream though. Here we go. Absolutely phenomenal speeds from these cars and phenomenal noises as well. And here we go. SGP's going to have a look up the inside, is he? Yes, he's looking. Mitch isn't defending, and yeah, maybe that's what Mitch should have waited for. Done that here and see if he could then pull away from SGP. Oh, 3 wide nearly. Davey Arp and Fluffy. What rating is Fluffy going to get for his diving? Well, not long at the minute.
No, there's actually a car locked up there. There's seen a puff of smoke. Maybe that was Jason just getting out of it. But it's nice to see Jason back in the championship this week, and we've got a lot more drivers than we had last week. So budgets have been raised and cars are out. So I'm hoping that this is going to be another entertaining race.
Definitely, I thought it was the Magic Dragon though, but obviously not. It's clearly it wasn't either. Okay, Mitch has dropped off a little bit from SGP now, and here comes Demon R, starts closing in that gap. So as the Tululas have just had a little bit of a battle, it has now allowed third and fourth to start closing in. Oh, as Fluffy, if he looks in his mirrors, he's going to see a lot of different colours.
Yeah, we've got Jimmy back as well this week, so nice to see Jimmy as well as he's battling his mate Rich Blues at the back as well.
Oh, that is all Dave Diab dipping a wheel on the AstroTurf, he's managed to save it, but he's going to have to make sure he keeps hold of it through the second part. Well, I call it Stavilo 2 because that's what I was always brought up hearing it called, but apparently it is also known as Curve Paul Frere. Oh, side by side Jason, Dave the Arb, tricky, but it can be done, and they're still side by side into the braking zone.
Yeah, again, Dave just having a look at Fluffy there. He just backs out with Twilight, manages to get around the outside of SRI.
Oh, Dave the Arb's run wide on the exit of the final corner, and that has freed up Jason. SRI now having a look at around the outside of Jason as Twilight trying to get in the slipstream as well, and SRI's got the move done. Nice. Or has he?
Yeah, he's going to be again though. He's overtaken at that first corner, and I was going to be maybe a few cars looking at him as we have all of them in this line, and it's going to be very painful going up the road. Please, no one. No, Twilight just decides to go across the curb, and where's Jimmy come from?
Yeah, I think Jimmy was paying his respects to Hubert over there, and Jason making the move, slipstream past SRI. Dave the Arp up the inside, a bit of contact between SRI and Dave the Arp. Jason running a little bit wide though, but that's exactly what it was on about. SRI with a lovely move into turn 1, but it's just lost 2 places now.
Yeah, both of the guys that were alongside him have managed to get past, and Jason's going to hang it around the outside, but there's a lot of marbles around the outside. Not quite so often now, but maybe later on in the race you don't want to be on the outside of that corner.
Definitely, with it being a 50-minute race, the marbles is definitely going to become a factor. Tyre wear is going to be a factor. The tyres could last quite a long time in this race. However, Spa is a little bit of a tyre killer, so it may be faster to pit and have fresh tyres, but it depends, because if you're going to pit and come out behind this lot and you're going to get stuck, there's no point pitting.
Yeah, I think we'll see a few races this season where Twilight just lost it on the curb there, trying to take too much into that corner. Yeah, but just going back to what we were saying about the pit stops, I think there'll be plenty of races this season where most of the drivers will gamble on 2 stops, and a couple of drivers might try the 1 stop, as we see SRI now having a go at Jason.
Yeah, that he is trying to get into Davey Arp's slipstream as well. But now he's wiggling. He's got a little bit too far alongside. Jimmy looked at getting involved, decided not to. Jason tucks in just behind SRI as Rich Blues is all out of shape over the curb, and so is Dave the Harpers. He's having a look at Fluffy, but here comes SRI, and there goes SRI. Unlucky. I think he may have taken evasive there.
I think that was definitely an evasive of the 69 car. But yeah, he
I've never heard of an evasive 69. What's that then?
Well, it's at the minute there's an evasive 69. Can't get too close to people. As we go back to SGP at the front.
An evasive 69 is what happens to SGP's missus when he's had a curry.
I don't want to think of what the state of that seat will be.
So much trouble for that. Oh dear. Oh, we're only 7 minutes in. I'm going to get fired already. I've got to say though, this is an absolutely fantastic battle. Rich trying to make a move on Jason now in David Hart's slipstream, giving him a bump draft as well. Oh, Jimmy.
I just want to say, Dave, Fluffy's still. I'm surprised that Fluffy still managed to actually stay in front of this pack, because he's been there for the last 2 laps now. But the guys behind him, I thought they might have got a toe on him and then been past him by now. But he's doing well to stay out in front.
I think what it might be, is that the position that David Hart's in at the moment, anyone who's in that position is coming under so much attack that the person in David Hart's position needs to focus on going forwards, but perhaps they're looking a little bit too much at what's going on behind them as Dave nearly runs a touch wide. Oh, I've got to say, these cars threw poo on are absolutely brilliant. Oh, that's alright. I don't know if he got tagged there, but he was out of shape, and I think that's Rich Blues going straight on. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the Scandinavian flick, it was more like the Scottish flick, and that's what happens. But yeah, he's going to have a look at Jimmy now.
He's flicking the Scottish bean.
Oh, there's another one you're going to get fired for if he did that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Kirsty
will kill me for that one.
Oh, sure she will. She'll not be happy about that. Now we're back to SJP as he's got a little bit of a gap now, but Damon R and certainly Steve F1 now is actually closing in on the 3 guys ahead of him. We've got Conrad in a lonely 5th place there.
Yeah, definitely. So the front 5 a little bit spread out as Dave Harper and Jason still battling. Jimmy getting a little bit of a nudge on. Oh, Dave Harper, I don't know if he was going for the pit lane.
Well, he's done a Hamilton.
Has he won 92 races? Spoiler. Actually, by the time people have watched this, they should know.
Yeah, I hope so, because we'll be getting some serious messages coming in.
Yeah, definitely. Fluffy pitted as well. I hadn't seen that, so interestingly, I mean, the pit stops aren't going to take very long around here. It's only going to be about 6 or 7 second time loss. Oh, I think Jimmy just tagged the back of SRI there. Well, it's about 6 seconds in there. Oh, Jimmy and Rich just had a bit of a coming together in the middle of the straight, or the middle of the corner, and they both survived somehow.
Just quickly, Dave, is that a bit of an early pit stop there for the 2 guys that went in? You're only sort of 4 laps in. Maybe if a 2 stop, you'd want them to be going at least 17, 18 minutes.
I'd be tempted to say yes, unless it's tactical for track position kind of thing. If you can do 20 minutes, say a good solid 20 minutes on the tyres, then pitting now's not that bad a decision, because you've done 10 minutes, get that out of the way and smash into 20-minute stints. The difficulty is if guys in front of you are not going to be pitting for another 10 minutes, you have no advantage of fresher tyres, because this is one of the things with the tyres around a track like this. The tyres should last quite some time, so it's not like the guys are on knackered tyres at the moment. That won't happen for another 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, so you're not really going to see a benefit unless you like Fluffy's in a position now where he's caught up to actually not off where he was before, but he's got to get past a couple of cars. And actually Demon has just come in now as well.
Yeah, that he has. That's quite interesting. So Jason coming under pressure then from Fluffy. So yeah, for someone like Fluffy, he's put fresh tyres on. I mean, maybe he was feeling that he was sliding about too much. Oh, he's definitely slid a bit too much there as he punches SRI through the final corners, and everybody else manages to survive it. Jimmy, I think, has just headed into the pit lane as well as Twilight now battling with Rich. I mean, it's an interesting one as to why people would pit this early, because if you were to just go off the face of it, this is fantastic stuff at the moment on the screen. If you were going to be pitting every 10 minutes, that's a 4-stop race.
Yeah, you don't want anyone. That's there's 3 abreast going up the Rouge there. Don't want to be seeing that as Jason just goes well out of the way and tries to get back on. But now we've got a run on Twilight. Twilight's got to run on Jimmy, and Fluffy's just having a look in the background there.
Yeah, so, Fluffy, no. Now he's done a Hamilton. Hamilton did that once. I've got to say, Fluffy, that was absolutely shocking driving, but with some phenomenal evasive manoeuvres there. Because I think we saw it straight, as soon as he went over to the right-hand side, we're like, oh no, that's not going to go well. Don't I explain why that would be?
Just going and trying to dive down the inside of 4 cars. You've already got 3 cars in front of you trying to get into a corner together, and then you've got Fluffy just appearing going, I want some of that. Yeah. And then he's just gone straight on. But yeah, good evasive manoeuvre there as he realised that he didn't quite have the brakes to do that, and he's just managed to get past.
Yeah. Interestingly, Demon Arm, you'd mentioned had pitted. He's come out not that far behind Conrad. He's now catching up Conrad. So for Demon Arm, I mean, for the leading 5, actually, they're in a bit of an interesting situation where I think any of them could pit and come out ahead of the pack. Oh, very close between these two. So any of the top 5 could really get a bit of a free pit stop over the rest of the pack. And if they can get a decent undercut, I mean, for example, Demon R, he's only got to go and catch Steve F1, who's just going round turn 1 now. No, he's not. He's only going round turn 1 now. So yeah, that gap's not that big as Jason making the move on SRI. SRI gets a bit of a nudge. Fluffy going on his own racetrack somewhere again.
Jimmy actually helped SRI there before he dived in. SRI just managed to keep the outside line. But yeah, just going back to what you were saying there, where you said Steve F1 was going on the first corner. That was actually SGP. So Damon R isn't actually that far off the lead.
Exactly. So if the other guys decide to cover off, so yeah, if SGP or Mitch decide to cover off Demon R, they're going to come out behind him. But I mean, this is the thing. I'm looking at Steve F1's lap 204s. Very consistent. Not so consistent for Demon R or SRI, but then SRI has been having to deal with Jason, Fluffy, Rich, Jimmy, Bunsell, Twilight, Dave.
Yeah, well, I was about to say Jason's just done the exact same lap time for 2 laps, but it's not. It's a 206.884 and a 208.884. So yeah. I'll keep that one quiet. But I was going to say, yeah, Jason's been very consistent, but he's been 2 seconds off consistent.
Yes, he's been inconsistently consistent.
Yeah, he's found the last three digits, but that's about it. Yeah. As we look at Fluffy's time as well, he's got a 1:59 and a 2:70. But sorry, yeah, SRI, he has pitted as well.
SRI got a big tank slapper on then, and that's allowed Fluffy to have a bit of a look at him headed into Puon. But Fluffy had a tighter line. Oh, he's just dipped a wheel on the curb. Got to be careful. There's SRI now going defensive into. I call this chicane camper chicane. I've also been told that it's Lefania. Yeah, but it's all right. They've got to be so careful doing that. It's so easy to spin, dipping a wheel too far. Over to the right is Rich, having a bit of a sympathy slide.
Yeah, oh, and Fluffy has another one. He just goes off of the curbs there. That's one thing, if you get the car hooked up on that curb, at least 2 wheels, it will not let you off for a good few hundred yards. So you've got to be careful because it will drag you along. And we see now Steve F1 starting to put a bit of pressure on. As we go back to Fluffy going on the outside. Yeah, just managed to get it done.
Jason and SRI going for the pits, but Jason's decided to crash first. That will give SRI a bit of extra lap time on him. Rich Blues, also into the pits. You mentioned that Steve F1 was starting to put some pressure on. Oh, Fluffy with a big slide. Jimmy slides through on the inside. Lovely move there from Jimmy. But now Fluffy's going to have the slipstream down the main straight. I tell you what, if that was a tactical move by Fluffy, it's a master stroke. But he ain't a master, but I heard he likes a stroke. So, yeah, we'll see what happens at the end of the straight. But yeah, Steve F1's lap times, though, that last lap, it just dropped half a second. So I'm wondering if their tyres are sort of going into that second phase now of, right, a little bit of a time loss, but it will be okay for a few laps as Fluffy trying to make the move up the inside of Jimmy, and Jimmy's having none of it.
Yeah, he just shut the door on him there. It was good move that by Jimmy. Bunsell goes wide now, and Twilight just sneaks on the inside.
I'm trying to see if Bunsell sponsored by
Swallowed?
Good,
it's taken 69s and now
well, I'm trying to work out whether it's my eyes or not, and see whether it's sponsored by Good Wrench or Good Wench, because one's a spanner and the other is probably going to be a murderer. No, I've said that.
Yeah, it's good wrench, Dave. So
that's
you'll
all
be
right.
safe.
We're
You're safe
all
there. Yeah, we're all right. I've locked the doors anyway, so we can't get those. Yeah, has he got Twilight coming down the inside of the good wench, or is that? Oh, yeah, he's going to go around the outside.
I've got to say, even though it's been a little bit bumpy between a few of these guys today, I kind of expect it around a track like Spa. It's so fast, it's so many changes. Oh, Mitch is struggling on his tyres, you know, just gone big time deep. I'm looking at their Steve F1's lap times, 2:05 is what I was on about. What's he do this time? Another 2:05.4. So yeah, Steve's into that second phase, but it's possible that Mitch, we've not seen his lap times as Conrad is into the pits. An interesting time to stop for him. But yeah, it's possible that Mitch would push so early that he perhaps hurt his tyres too much in that first phase, and now he's into the second phase where he's got a bit of time loss, but it's coming with a lot of overheating and a lot of lack of grip.
Yeah, he's going to be under pressure now, isn't he? He's just going to have to try and defend into this next corner, but Steve F1, yeah, he ducks out of the slipstream now. He's going to go for the inside.
I think Mitch realises not a lot he can do there to fend him off, and probably wisely not defending him either, because he doesn't really want to be losing too much time if Mitch knows that he's struggling a little bit, because if those two battle too much, all of a sudden Demon R's had a pit stop and he'll be on the back of him. He's not quite caught them up yet. SGP though, look at the lead that he has got now. He's also into the second phase, gone from 2:04s to 2:05s, but there is Demon R now, so in the grand scheme of things, Demon R is slowly working himself back into position, but we're kind of 17-18 minutes into the race, and Conrad has just pitted. And to be fair, if you were going to do a straight up two stop, around 18 minutes isn't a bad time to do your stops.
No, because you're coming out with an average of at least all three stints are going to be sort of the same. Oh, we've got a big slide on there from Jason. He just managed to get on. Surprised the splitter didn't dig into the ground there. These cars are that low, but yeah. SRI clips a lot of curve there. Yep, that was going to. I've just seen him take a little bit too much curve on the inside, and it just chucked him.
He's going on him again.
He's having a pity spin. Oh, he's got it. No, he hasn't.
It might have been an anger spin, that one.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing what happened there, I mean, it's so easily done. He's dipped a wheel on the AstroTurf as Steve F1 going for the pits. So is Mitch. Demon R's going to continue on. So this is what I would guess Demon R was doing his early pit stop for, is so that when Mitch and Steve F1 pit, they're going to come out behind him. But now they are going to have much fresher tyres. I say much fresher, 10-minute fresher tyres. Ooh, 3 wide. Breathe in.
Yeah, these cars haven't left each other alone, have they?
No.
Very slow from Twilight as he conked out the stall.
I'm wondering if he thinks he's tagged somebody there.
There's nobody else behind him.
No.
Oh, that's interesting, but yeah.
Oh dear.
No, you go, I'll go. Okay, you go.
Okay, so Mitch and Steve have come out of the pits, so Mitch looking racy once again. I'm just looking at Mitch's lap times, yeah. See, 2:05 early on, 2:04s, and then his time drop off, Bosch was 2:06s. He managed another 2:05, but then his next was a 2:06, so yeah, took a bit too much life out of the tyres. Now, the gap between Demon R and Steve F1 is not very big now, but they've both done one pit stop each. It'll be interesting to see how this is going to pan out. Personally, I think it's going to work better for the likes of Steve F1 and Mitch at the moment, but Mitch may have to look after those tyres.
Yeah, we saw Mitch's drop off. He just looks like he struggles a bit more with the tyre wear than Steve F1 does. And obviously we've got to note that SGP hasn't pitted yet, so I can only assume that he's going to look at the 25-minute mark and go for a one-stop.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I was just counting there. I think SGP is about 6 to 7 seconds ahead of Demon R. So if SGP was to pit now, he's going to come out potentially behind Demon R, just ahead of these two. But if he can go another 5 minutes, then he'll be able to... Oh, Bonzo, big sideways! Big sideways! Oh, and I think that's Jimmy having a crash with him, and so is somebody else as well. Is that Twilight? It might be.
Yeah. Well, they all having pity slides for each other. I think they've been attached to each other for that long that they all think, oh, I'm sorry to see him go off, so I'll do it as well.
Yeah, definitely. SRI getting involved in there as well alongside Jason, is it? yet. No, it's Twilight. Or is they're trying to get into the slipstream. I've got to say, these cars are rather fast around this particular track, but they are also absolutely brilliant to drive. But yeah, I was mentioning about SGP. Yeah, if he can go as Fluffy's into the pits for his second stop, so he's done 10 minutes and 11 minutes as SRI trying to make the move on Jimmy. We mentioned it already, he may be better off waiting a moment. But having said that, Rich is sneaking up the inside of Twilight.
Yeah, Fluffy's going to get a decent tour now. He's going to be right on the back of him again because he's come out with all the boost. But these guys are going to fight into Eau Rouge. Oh, that's one big train.
I tell you what,
they've just come over the top. They've done well there, yeah. Yeah,
they have done well to slot it behind each other there. Whether they can carry that on down the main straight, we'll find out. Jason and Jimmy at the head of two bump drafts. David Hart's got a little bit of a gap, but is he going to come under attack? He might. SRI run a little bit deep, so did Jimmy. I think Twilight's just got himself a little bit sideways. Yes, he has. An SRI having a look up the inside of Jimmy. He's giving it a bit of that. Oh, he actually put Jimmy off there.
Yeah, Jimmy went through the gravel trap and just slowed him down. And now Fluffy's already gained 2 positions, I think, coming out of the pit. So yeah.
I tell you what, Jason,
through the exit there.
Yeah, coming through No Name, Jason and Dave Yarp side by side. I'm glad Dave didn't try diving up the inside of Pooh on there. It very, very rarely works. If you're already alongside, yeah, you can go for it. But if you're going for a late move, chances are it's not going to work. As Dave now coming under pressure. We're having a look at SGP. We're 22 minutes in. Is he going for the pits? No, he's not. He's using a lot of curb though.
Yeah. I thought he was going to straight line the chicane there. But, Damon R's pitted.
And SRI's in the gravel. Oh no, that's down at Stavilo 1. Okay, so Demon R's pitted, so he's done 10 minutes and 13 minutes. I ain't got a clue what his strategy is.
No, but we'll soon find out. But I think he'll probably be going for the 2-stop and try and do a longer stint now, but
yeah, could do.
It's going to be a long stint if he is going for that. But yeah, we'll say. As Mitch takes a lot of curb over the brow of the Eau Rouge there, he's going to have a look at Steve F1 down at this next corner. I think, Dave.
I think he definitely. Anyway, I think he needs to. He's not going to. The reason I said I think he needs to is because, interestingly, Demon R pitting then, that frees up SGP. He's now got a bit more time to make his pit stop and come out ahead of Steve F1 and Mitch as Jimmy and Jason nearly side by side. But it may also be a sign for Mitch that if he wants to get a move on ahead of Steve F1, now's the time to do it. As David Arp, I think, took a lot of tarmac there to squeeze past Jimmy.
Yeah, I think he used the stewards. I think it's not the stewards, the marshal's runoff area there, just to get through. But Fluffy just late on the brakes as well, nearly ran into the back of Bunzel, but he just gets it done.
That he does. And okay, I'm looking at the track map again. Jimmy big sideways. Yeah, I'm looking at the track map. SGP is going through Stavilo 1. Steve F1 and Mitch are coming through Campus Chicane heading towards Stavilo 1. Demon R is right there as well. So Demon R pitting when he did hasn't really, he's still there in touching distance. We'll have to wait and see what happens towards the end of this race. But I've got to say, this battle in the pack is absolutely mental. For SGP though, 25 minutes, he can pit now, and he's shown he can make it halfway through the race. And I don't think that Steve F1 and Mitch are actually catching him up.
No, I just noticed when I had a quick look at SGP's times there, he hasn't dropped off massively. He's still mid 205s, which is still, maybe a second difference, but he hasn't actually pitted that yet. He's going to go and do another lap.
That's rather interesting. So we've got the likes of Demon R who's pitted twice. Mitch and Steve F1 have pitted once. Conrad, I think, has pitted once. Some of these guys have pitted 3 times and 2 times and 1 time, but SGP hasn't stopped yet. But at the end of the day, if he feels he can keep going without losing any time to the cars behind and give himself a shorter second stint, he just gives himself better tyre life as Dave the Arb taking the SRI line and ended up in the pits. I think maybe on purpose this time, but a bit questionable, I will say.
Yeah, just on the SGP as well, I have said in previous races that he does seem to look after the tyres a bit more, and when it comes down to races like this, it does benefit him in a way because he can stay out of trouble, go from the front, set his own pace, and he can look after the tyres. Who's that with the hazards on? Is that Rich with the hazards on? He's just telling his mate to follow him them two are back on track together. So obviously a bit of flirting going on.
Fluffy having a look at making a move on Jason. Fluffy's car looking a little bit worse for wear, should we say. I will admit as well.
Is that the colour scheme or the scratches that you've got down the side?
I actually like the colour scheme. It's the scratches and look how smashed up his headlights are. You see what I mean. Oh, Dave just got himself massively out of shape there, and Rich sneaky through up the inside of Jason. That's a nice move, but it could come under pressure on the exit of the corner as Jimmy also slots past Jason. Oh, does he? No. Jason fights it back.
Yeah, there's good fighting between these guys. There's a lot of hard racing. Nobody's had a big off. I hope I haven't just cursed that. But anyway, we'll go through Pouron now. Coming out. Rich defends really well there coming out of that corner.
SGP, is he going for the pits? Yes, he is. So he's done 27 minutes on one set of tyres. I should have looked at what his lap times were like. Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I think Steve F1, Mitch and Demon are all going to be sat there going, well, we're stuffed. Because SGP's coming out of the pits now. He's going to come out right between them, is he?
Yeah, he's going to have that toe, isn't he? But he's going to have a toe on Steve F1, but he's going to get towed from Mitch. So it's perfect position that. He didn't get caught out behind and having two cars to pass. He's just got the one now. But Steve F1 will put up a fight and he won't let this go easy.
But the interesting thing here is that both Steve F1 and Mitch are going to have to pit again. There's no way they can get to the end on the set of tyres that they are on, as Mitch trying to make a move on SGP. As you know, SGP's going a little bit deep. Oh no, he's not got his tyres up to temperature, and that does allow Mitch through. But still, having said that, I don't think SGP's in a situation where he needs to panic at the moment.
No, yeah, of course, the guys ahead of him still got another pit stop to make. So technically he's got a net lead of about 6 seconds again. But Steve F1's actually pulling away now, so he can't let that happen.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at SGP's times. Well, the last two laps he did for his pit stop, 2:06s, right? That's what Mitch was doing after his sort of first phase, after about 10 minutes. So it kind of shows you what SGP's been doing on his tyres. But those 2:06s, yes, they've cost him a little bit of time and put him between Steve F1 and Mitch. But this next stint, he's not going to be having those laps at the end that are going to be in the 2:06s.
No, he's probably going to keep 2:05s at the end, and I wonder if that's enough to hold on. But as we go back to this pack now, see Jason back to the front as SGP looks to have got his tyres warmed up now, and he's back on the back of Mitch. He's going to have a look to the outside.
He's gone for the switch.
Great switch.
Has he got the move done? Yes, he has managed to get it stopped in time, but it could be compromised on the exit here. Who's that? Demon R into the pits once again. Bloody hell, he's only been on them for 6 minutes.
See, Mitch has done it. If I was Mitch there, I would have let SGP have that position and then gone for this straight now, because now SGP is just going to come straight back past.
Yeah, definitely. This little fight, as great as it is to see, has just allowed Steve F1 to open up a little bit of a gap, and that could be costly against Mitch. It could be costly against SGP as well, as SGP now tucked up behind Mitch, pulls out the slipstream, pulls alongside. I think Mitch is also potentially going to be getting to the point where his tyres could be going off again soon, unless he's looked after them a little bit better in this stint. So SGP is through. Now he's got to resist the temptation to go and hunt down Steve F1 at the fastest possible pace he can do.
Yeah, he's got to keep this position now from Mitch, because Mitch still having a look, but I think SGP will now pull away through this next section. As Steve F1 just going through Pouron, and SGP needs to get a move on, but does he want to push too hard because he knows he's got a long stint coming?
Well, that's the question, isn't it, Dave? They are side by side with Jason. We've seen that a lot in this race here today, and in the background Bunsell closing in on them as well. And I mean, we did get to see there as well the benefit of SGP on the new tyres and Mitch on his done about 15 minutes. There is a difference at that point on just how much you can lean on the tyre. And to be honest, that'll be a feature I think in Suzuka as well at the next race, where we're using the medium compound tyre again. Oh, Jimmy. Is that Jimmy? No, it was Bunsell.
Bunsell.
Yeah, Bunsell. That was a little bit wider than he wanted to be. I think Dave the Arp's gone in there a little bit too hot, has he? Not quite, if you can get it slowed down. Oh, just having a look at the rear end of Steve F1, looking tidy. He's obviously been working here.
Yeah, he's been doing his glutes, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. You know, one of my exes, she used to love doing fitness work and all stuff like that. See, that side was oh God, there's a joke coming in. No, there isn't.
Oh, that's serious, that one.
Yeah,
the first time, isn't it?
It was, yeah. Although, well, you know what, I did once, I dated a blind girl, right, and it was both challenging and rewarding at the same time. It took me ages to get her husband's voice right.
I've actually got a story. I've got a story about that. I don't want to say, but I'll. If we've got enough time, I'll let you know.
Oh dear! I can't take full credit for that one. I did steal it, but anyway, Jimmy, he's attacking Jason. Oh, I heard that. It made me chuckle, so I had to steal it. Hey, that Blonde Marshall. We've not seen him for a few championships. We see him here at Spa. You might not know about Blonde Marshall, but yeah, he appears now and again, facing away from the camera with his cool-looking blonde hair. Jimmy making the move on at Jason at the end of the camel straight. And Jason's going to fight it all the way around the outside. Oh, Jimmy's giving him too much room and ran off the road. Oh, and now he's punted Rich. Oh, but it's slowing down for him. Oh,
there's no need for that.
I don't think there was any avoiding it, unfortunately.
No, Rich had the nice tribute livery out for him last week at Fuji, and he's gone and done that. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, you know what it is. But having said that, Jimmy must have heard us, because we did say he needs to come back because Rich is scoring points over him today. Jimmy's going to make sure of that one. Oh, I think it's that Rich running wide at P1 again. Yes, it is.
Twilight, I think.
Right, okay, so looking at the leaders, Steve F1 has just dipped into the 205s and he's into the pits. Okay, that's probably, I would say, the earliest that Steve F1 could pit and do a stint where he's not going to have knackered tyres at the end. Mitch, though, carries on. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Mitch is wanting to have the nicer tyres at the end, or maybe have a go at Steve F1. Steve F1's not actually that far behind, is he?
No, he's not. I mean, that's the SGP is just heading into Eau Rouge now. There he is. Mitch is pretty much right behind him, kind of. There he is, but Mitch is on knackered tyres now. Yeah, look at his lap times, 206s, and he got into the 205s again. But yeah, his tyres are on the warm side. Steve F1 is only a couple of seconds down the road, as we see somebody in the background going very wide there. Yeah, Steve F1, brand new tyres. Okay, we've now got a race on, and the thing is, he'll actually benefit Steve F1 the longer that Mitch stays out, because the more little bit of boost that Steve F1 will get.
Yeah, if he's down on the back of Mitch, and then Mitch has got it all to do once he comes into the pits. Oh, as we see Bunsell just cutting the grass there.
Oh, nearly cutting the concrete as well. Oh, and Dave sweeps around the outside. I mean, something that I think some of the guys are realising in this car is sometimes when stuff like that happens, you don't have time to think, you just do. Like, you have to be, I was going to say you have to have your wits about you, but you don't. You just need some reflexes and a bit of luck. So that move that Dave the Arp did then around Bunsell, he wouldn't have had a chance to think about what he was doing. He was just moving around him. He could so easily have dipped a wheel on the grass and ended up in the barrier, but thankfully he didn't do it. Fluffy ran a little bit wide there. That was so Bunsell in the background.
Yeah, these guys have been stuck together, haven't they, all race? Dave and Jason, no matter what's happened. Jason's going to have another look as he just wants to get that place back.
Well, interestingly, on this occasion, these two going into Pouhon, Dave did go for the move, but he was just up alongside before the corner, so had a bit more opportunity to actually try and make it stick. It did compromise his exit, and he had to defend quite hard to keep Jason behind him. The problem is that the harder that Dave defends, the easier it's going to be for Fluffy to just pull away a little bit. Jason,
yeah, you sound like you're trying to rap there, Dave. You sound like you're from Compton there.
I wouldn't do that. I can't live up to NWA. I tell you what though, Conrad, he's just pitted. Oh, was that a bit of contact there?
I don't know, but Jason's gone far out wide, and he's just rejoined. He's going to get it stopped. Oh, Dave, I'm not happy about that.
It definitely won't be. I think, has Dave gone for the pits? No, Jason has. Yeah, that's unfortunate between Jason and Dave. Twilight then just ahead now of Bunsell. I've got to say, it's another brilliantly action-packed race, and I know it may appear messy at times, folks, but this is a track that will punish people if you are not on the perfect racing line, especially at the speeds that these cars can go.
Yeah, it's a great racing to watch. Obviously, this car has been a bit of a change compared to the cars we were driving last season. As we see, Twilight's now going to have a look at the inside of Jimmy.
Can he get it stopped? I don't know. Dave trying to have a look at the inside of Jimmy as well, but managed to back out of it. Twilight makes the move, nicely done. And Jimmy's coming back at him though as they head down to Beau Rivage. But no, Twilight's got the move done. I mean, I know I said it looks a bit messy at times, but it's just sometimes the cars are so fast around a track that's actually quite narrow, and the types of corners like Pouhon, going side by side around Pouhon is phenomenal to see, but chances are it's going to slow you down so much that anyone behind is going to have their wits about them. Okay, Steve F1 is now closing in on the back of Mitch. Steve F1, I was going to say he's doing 1:59, but that would have been his lap time out of the pits as Mitch now heads into the pits for his final stop. So he's only going to have 12 minutes to do on his tyres. That's a clever stint there from Mitch, that is, going very, very long in that middle stint to have a very short stint. That shows that he realised he's killing his tyres through this race, whereas now when he comes out, he can pretty much push for the whole 12 minutes.
Yeah, he's going to have much better tyres now. He means that he's going to have the confidence as we go back to these. Oh, they're all back together again. What a surprise is there. Fluffy just gets off the brakes and rolls it round the outside. And side by side again in this first corner.
Nice bit of driving through the final chicane there on that occasion. Dave Harp did slot into the pits as well. Jason having a look up the inside of Fluffy. And if I was Bunsell, I'd probably go, right, who can I... Twilight's like, you're not having my slipstream. But yeah, I was going to say, if I was Bunsell, I'd be like, all right, who can I slipstream straight off the top of Eau Rouge? Oh, Jimmy's squeezed a little bit there.
Who can I get into the back of going up Eau Rouge is what happened there. As Fluffy actually gets a really good throw off Twilight, and Jimmy getting two cars punching that hole in the air, and he's not close enough. Oh, Twilight holds onto it.
Yeah, it's interesting that Twilight is... I think some of the drivers have realised that in some corners, like that chicane there, defend on the racing line because you've then got the inside for the next corner. Now, it works as long as you don't then end up side by side for the right-hander, Beau Rivage. If you do, you do not want to be out on the marbles at Beau Rivage. It is not a corner. It's like Pouhon. You go a little bit like that as well. You go a little bit wide, you could very easily end up facing in all sorts of directions. We're not seeing Conrad much this race, and then we see him and he's dipping a wheel in the gravel.
Yeah, he just knew the camera was coming on him, so he just wanted to do a bit of showboat, and he's got a big gap ahead and a big gap behind, so he's not going to see much of anybody in this race.
No, but you know what? I'm looking at that though. I'm thinking that might not be too much of a bad thing for Conrad, because over the last few championships, he's had a few races where he's definitely been involved in plenty of action. And okay, sometimes it can be a bit boring having a lonely race, but sometimes it's something you just need. A sort of an eventless race.
Yeah, at least he's not getting caught up in the pack, but he's just having a chilled out race, just keeping an eye on things behind to make sure he doesn't make too many mistakes. But we have a lot of cars coming at the pits there.
Yeah, Fluffy I saw going in, Bunsell going in. That will please Twilight because he's been attacked down through Eau Rouge into the Kemmel Straight on the last two laps. David Hart pitted a lap ago, so he's got fresh tyres on Jason as Fluffy and Bunsell and Jimmy all come out of the pit lane. David Hart having a look side by side into Eau Rouge. He's just ahead. That's a decent move, but he may have just given Jason the slipstream now down the straight.
Yeah, he's going to get a little one off Twilight, but I think Jason's closer.
I think Twilight will tell you it's a big one, thank you. Oh dear.
Sorry, John.
I think Jason's tyres may have been a little bit too worn to really attack David Hart there. Interestingly though, Mitch, having made his pit stop, is now closing in on the back of Demon R. I've no idea what Demon R's strategy has been today, because he's kind of done like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 6 minutes, and well, he's not been in for the last 11 minutes, so maybe he's, I don't know, maybe he's going for a 20-minute stint. Either way, Mitch is all over the back of him, and yeah, I think Demon R is going to be a bit of a sitting duck here, to be honest.
Yeah, Mitch has looked quick coming out of the pits. He looks like he has the confidence now to attack, and just looked at making a manoeuvre there, but I think he realises that he's made a mistake a few times by going for the manoeuvre. He's gonna do it again, is he? No, he just backs out and pulls in behind. 2:03.6 is a good lap.
Yeah, it is. I think you're right in what you were sort of hinting at there, that he's overtaken at the wrong place on a couple of occasions into the final chicane, into turn one, whereas here he could have gone for it into turn one, but now he gets a decent run down the Camel Straight, and as long as he's I don't know if he is close enough, but I'd say if he is
I don't think he had a very good exit out of the turn one. He got too close to the wall and it just cut the corner off a bit.
Yeah, so perhaps had to get out. Yeah, he's definitely not close enough. But there's nothing. I mean, if he'd have attempted the overtake into turn one, it'd be in exactly the position he's in now anyway. So he hasn't lost anything yet. But it means that he can, instead of perhaps thinking, right, attack everywhere. If he wants, I mean, this is a process that I always love giving an example of. So, okay, if Mitch wants to overtake down the Camel Straight, he's got to think about what is he going to do into the final chicane and the first corner. Because the more he can get Demon R out of position in the final chicane, the slower he'll be there, the more likely he'll be to defend into turn one, and the slower he'll be there, and then the easier the overtake is down Camel Straight. So you think about it 2, 3, 4 corners before. How do you set them up in those corners to be slow so you can overtake at the point you want to?
Yeah, it's just about reading the next five corners ahead and making sure you make the car defend, and that's what Mitch is going to have to do, I think, to get past Demon R. But SGP's still doing his job out in front, as Steve F1 might start closing in now.
He is closing in a little bit. I've got to say though, SGP's lap times were phenomenal, 2:04s along the board. So were Demon R's there on this particular stint, as we were going on board with Mitch by the looks of it. I tell you what, Connor, why don't you take us for a lap on board with Mitch?
Yeah, we're just coming into this first corner now. Mitch is going to look braking just after the 100-metre board. He's going to have a screen full of Demon R's. He gets a good exit out of that first corner, straight up to third. He's going to let the car rev out into fourth straight away. He gets a good tow. He's going to come through Eau Rouge, take the first bit of that curb, quite wide through the middle of Eau Rouge there, but he's going to, over the brow, he's going to get a decent tow down the Camel Straight. Might even have a look. We might have come on board at a good point here. Yeah, he dives out. He's going late on the brakes. Just late on the brakes. Try and take as much curb to help rotate the car. He's going to leave a little bit of space on the inside as Demon R's still there. Little lift through this next kink and down into the hairpin.
And they're still just got through there side by side.
Yeah, it's still side by side. He wants to push Demon R onto the marbles. Takes a tight line and see Demon R just in the wing mirror there as it goes through this very corner. If you take too much curb, you end up off into the wall, and it's not a nice exit there. Through Poulon, careful not to take too much curb, or else it takes you out wide and you carried on out there and you lose at least a second. Hard on the brakes, get the car rotated, tight to the curb, pull it right, try and get a smooth exit out left. And now as he goes into this next corner, he wants to get tight on there, straight in. Good curb amount taken there. Pull as far as left as you can to go through the right hander and try and get a good run down here. If you don't get a good run, then you lose a load of time going into the bus stop chicane, and there's plenty of moves to be making there around the outside and down the inside. Now it's flat through this corner, and he wants to be eyeing up the braking zone. Where can he brake late into this last chicane? Gets it nice on the brakes, take a bit of curb on the inside, back over to the right, get across the left and good exit out this corner and across the line, and that's a lap of Spa.
Yeah, no, a fabulous lap there from Mitch of the 2:04.685 with the overtake in there. I mean, in a way, it's a shame we didn't get to see the overtake from the off-board cameras, because they were side by side through the Camel chicane, but up until Beau Rivage. I mentioned earlier, you do not want to be a driver that's on the outside of Beau Rivage, so fantastic racing between the two of them there. But we can clearly see that De Menard's tyres are now in a position where he can do nothing about Mitch.
No, we've got these guys have still got plenty to do about each other, haven't they? We've got Bunsell around the outside of Jason. David Hart's going to have a look at Bunsell, is it? Yep, he's going to have a look at Bunsell. He's got Fluffy ahead of him.
The thing is, if you look at the track map, you go, right, okay, there's two cars in Beau Rivage, then there's Mitch, then there's De Menard, then there's Conrad, and then there's one car headed into Eau Rouge.
I thought there was 12 runners in this race, which I've just realised. I think we lost SRI.
Yeah, there's 13 runners. Yeah, we're down to 12. So yeah, it looks like SRI. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I've not seen him for a while.
Yeah. So we've got 5 cars on the road, and then 6 to 12 is just one long car.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff going on there. Oh, Jimmy's gone a little bit wide though. That's going to compromise him. I don't think Jason. Oh, Dave the Arp's got off as well. I don't think Jason realised that Jimmy was still kind of there. Or is Dave Hart? Which way is he going? Which is the right way, Dave? Yeah, that's the right way. Well done. Okay, just to let you know, Connor, we are now 2 minutes 10 seconds left of this race, which means the leaders are about to start the last lap of the race.
Yeah, it's been a great race. There's a lot of action packed from the guys in. Well, we're watching them again now. There'll be a lot of happy faces on the sponsors as we see Bunsell's straight down the inside of Rich. It's nice to see Rich having another good, strong showing inside the top 10 this week as well.
Oh, definitely. Bunsell having a look at the inside of Jimmy. Thinks better of it though, and Rich will probably just tag the back of him. I mean, sometimes, yeah, when you're backing out of a move like that, it is very easy to catch out the person behind you. You mentioned earlier that Steve F1 may be closing in on the back of SGP. He is, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough. Is he? If he's close enough to get a slipstream here, he may be able to close in. No, he's not. He's not.
Yeah, I think this last lap he's going to have to find a low 204, isn't he? Because SGP hasn't actually lost that much time when his tyres have been going off. So Steve F1's going to have to pull something out here and get them in a position to get a tow down into the last corner.
Yeah, I mean, Steve F1, he definitely looks like he's pushing it as much as he can. The gap is coming down a little bit. Yeah, it is coming down a little bit, but SGP, he won't mind the gap coming down there. See, this is what I was on about with what drivers will be thinking about. SGP is literally going to be thinking solely about that final corner. Because the last thing he'll be looking at this and going, right, I don't care what you do now, I am not going to let you pass me in that final corner. So he needs to focus on these two corners coming up now. He's got to get this corner right, the next corner right, he's got a chance. Steve F1, the pressure is on him. He needs to get this corner right and the next corner right, get the slipstream, and then be able to attack into the final corners. But he's not close enough, I don't think.
No, he's not going to be close enough unless he wants to have a huge dive bomb and gamble. But yeah, I think this is going to be SGP's, barring no mistakes in the last corner.
Yeah, you know what, SGP, he's got it covered. He did exactly what he needed to in those corners. He opened up the gap enough, and it is going to be a victory. 2 in a row for SGP, taking the win here in Spa. Steve F1, a phenomenal drive for him, takes second place. Mitch, he's done extremely well here today on difficult tyres and killing them even more over the finish line. De Menard, God knows what he was up to today, but it's 4th place for him. Conrad, he'll be happy to see someone when he brings his car to a stop at the end of this race.
Yeah, I think he might actually go side by side with people on the in lap. But yeah, as we go back to these guys, and this is still a race going ahead. As Where's Fluffy? Fluffy must just be ahead of these guys.
Yeah, he is. He's just ahead, but Jimmy's trying to make the move on Twilight. Gives Twilight a little bit of a touch. Jimmy he needs to give that position back to Twilight, which he's trying to do. But now here comes Rich trying to get involved in it. Oh, Rich gives Twilight a little bit of a touch. And Fluffy looks like he's safe. Dave's got on the curb. Oh, he's tagged the back of Rich, and around Rich goes. Oh no, it's disaster. Jimmy's crossed the line. Bunsel, Twilight, Jason, Dave, and Rich is going to be the last to cross the line. Oh, it's devastation for Rich at the end. Oh, so easily for things to go a little bit wrong there, and unfortunately on this occasion they did for Rich.
Yeah, that was unfortunate there. He drove a great race, Rich, as well. Just unfortunate to be tagged. The thing is, it's the last corner of the last lap, so he didn't even have a chance to get back at the guys going down into the Kemmel Straight and then the rest of the lap. So yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely was. Got to say though, congratulations to SGP on taking that victory. I mean, unless there's any penalties for him, that may have just put him at the top of the championship standings. I mean, as far as the championship standings are concerned, that could mix things up a little bit, because Mitch came into this one leading the standings by 2 points. He's going to have been overtaken by SGP. Steve F1 has finished second, but with his disconnection in DNF last week, he's going to have gained some places in the championship, but I think he's still going to be a long way off SGP. So at the moment, you could say it's looking like an SGP Mitch battle for the championship.
Yeah, I think Steve F1 will come good in sort of the next few races. I think if he can get a good run, and maybe I think he needs to do a few more laps in the cars. I think. Because he doesn't look like the same Steve F1 that we saw maybe he's in the first race of the season. But yeah, I think Steve F1 will be fine. I think it's going to be at least a three-way fight, and whether that's between Mitch, SGP and Steve F1, or Demon R manages to sneak in ahead of someone, then it's still going to be a good fight.
Definitely. I mean, there's still a long way to go. I mean, that's only the third race of 9, so there's still another 6 races to go. So right, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, another 6 races to go.
Dave.
Yeah, I thought I'd just double check that. So there's still 120 points maximum available. I mean, if Steve F wants to win every race, he would need SGP and Mitch to have a couple of shockers in there and drop some like 10 points to him. Similar probably for Demon R, and even Conrad. Conrad's in there as well. So it'd be interesting to see how things pan out, especially at the next race in Suzuka, because I was kind of hinting earlier that the tyres at Suzuka I think are going to be a little bit tricky, because it's quite late in the day. It's a bit cold at that track. The tyre compounds are a bit hard, but going softer on the tyre compounds that have just burnt up and died. So it takes a couple of laps to really get those tyres working. The problem that people are going to have at Suzuka is if you have an off, you have to be then extremely careful and stay on the tarmac, because if you don't, you will just go from having one off to having another and another and another, and it will just get worse and worse and worse. You'll end up with no tyre temperature and just slipping and sliding all over the place. You keep the tyres clean, it's a nice track to race around though.
Yeah, I think the problem is as well, if you lose, if you decide, I might get away with doing one more lap, the first sector is a very demanding first sector for the front tyres, and if you've lost them fronts, then you're going to lose a lot of time. Yeah,
definitely. And if you're going to lose a lot of time in that first sector, chances are you also then, you're going to lose it for the rest of the lap, because if you haven't got the grip through that first sector, it is going to give you no confidence for the Degners, the hairpin, spoon, R130, the final. Yeah, it could be a tricky one. But having said that, the pit stop lost time at Suzuka is not very big, so I don't think we're going to see anybody going for a one stop, and even if they do, I don't think it'll work, because I mean, interestingly here, SGP's done the one stop and made it work fantastically well. Steve F1's gone for the two stop and was very unfortunate. I mean, he was very close to taking the win at the end, but probably thought he would have been able to catch up faster when he'd made his previous stops. In Suzuka, I think the time loss of the tyres is going to be so much greater that if these two drivers do exactly the same thing in Suzuka, SGP goes long, Steve F1 pits, Steve F1 will catch SGP rapidly, because the fresher tyre around that track is going to be so much more powerful than 10-15 minute old tyres.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the guys who do go for a one stop, you're sort of going to be looking at least dropping down a good few positions, because the guys behind who go for the two stop, you know, they'll only be losing, what is it, maybe six seconds.
It's about
maybe?
5-6 seconds in total.
Yeah, and then but the guys who do a two stop, you know, they're going to be very quick. Yeah. And I think a one stop, you're going to be gambling a lot on getting out in front and being on your own. And I think if that's SGP, yeah, it could be that, but I think he'll probably go with the majority and take that extra pit stop.
Yeah, I reckon so. I mean, we talked a bit today. Talked a bit today about sort of different phases of the tyres, and I mean, it's something that hopefully people will be able to see over the course of this championship, that there is different phases of the tyre. I mean, to put it into its full perspective, there's a qualifying phase of the tyre where on the first lap or two you can absolutely nail the tyres and go extremely quick, but if you try going at that same pace for the next 2 or 3 laps, it's impossible to do. So there's a qualifying phase, or you can ignore the qualifying phase, and that first phase is a very consistent, very grippy tyre. And if you look after the tyre at that point, i.e. not braking late, not getting sideways, not going on the gravel or the dirt, then when you get to the second phase of the tyre, which is when there's a significant drop off like we saw today from 204s to 205s, then you're into the second phase where you can still be consistent but just at a slightly slower lap time. But if you've punished your tyres a little bit too much, like we saw with Mitch, for example, in that first stint, when he got into phase 2, it was more like going straight to phase 3. So what SGP was able to do today was, once he was in phase 2 and it was 205s, that was fast enough to keep everybody else behind him. For Mitch, because he was into the 206s, he was then losing 2 seconds a lap effectively, or a minimum 1 second up to 2 seconds a lap. Now he's in a position where there's no point driving on doing 206s, which is why he did the longest stint at 206s to give himself a really short stint at the end where he would be in the 204s, 205s. I know this is all a little bit boring and complicated to sound like James May, but if SGP had gone from 204s to 206s, it wouldn't have worked. The one stop would not have worked. Steve F1 would have been 2 seconds a lap faster than him, because Steve F1 was doing 204s. So that's kind of where it was very much on a knife edge to be able to make it work in this race. And fair play, they both made their strategies work in their own respective ways.
Yeah, what we actually noticed as well is when Steve F1 pitted for the second time, as soon as he did a 205, that was the next lap he was in the pits. Yeah. And he could afford to do that because he was looking after his tyres a bit more. Yep. So he was able to do that last stint and actually, you know, give a good run to SJP on that last lap, but just couldn't get it done.
Yep. Either way, it's been a fantastic race, and I think we'll wrap up there. So, Connor, thank you very much for joining us on commentary.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy doing it, so I'll pull me sleeping bag out again, and I'll wake me up next week. Yep,
in Japan, get the sushi ready. Right, thank you very much, and let's see what that result is. Let's check out the confirmed results and what that will have done to the championship standings. Here we go then with confirmation of the race result. SGP taking the victory in the maximum 20 points. Steve F1 finishing in second place ahead of Mitch in third. Demon R came home in fourth place, so 13 points for him. And Conrad finished in fifth, 11 points for him. Fluffy Planet managed to survive the chasing pack for 50 minutes, so takes that sixth place and the 10 points that come with it. In seventh place was Jimmy, a good points haul for him on his return, so 9 points in the bag. And 8th place for Bunsel, and it's 8 for 8 in the 8th place. Twilight finished in 9th place on 7 points, with Jason finishing in 10th on 6. Dave the Hart finished in 11th place, bagged 5 points, but unfortunately also bagged a -6 point penalty. Full information of that is on the Stewards report on the Facebook page. But yeah, it was to do with the incident right at the end there with Rich Blues, unfortunately. So an unfortunate penalty for Dave the Hart there. Rich Blues did manage to finish in 12th on 4 points ahead of SRI, who did not finish. We didn't see him retire, but unfortunately that is what happened. Okay, current championship standings then. We said it might change about a bit, and it has. SGP taking the victory there has now put himself into first place on 53 points, with Mitch sitting in second now on 50. 10 point gap then to Demon R in third place, who's 1 point ahead of Conrad in fourth. Those two have swapped places. Steve F1 is now up to fifth on 34 points, and Twilight sits in sixth on 28 ahead of Fluffy on 26 and Dave the Harp on 19. Rich Blues sits in 9th place on 16 points, and he is 3 ahead of Bunsel, who is in 10th. Jimmy, with his points haul today, moves up to 11th place ahead of Formula Gary in 12th, who should hopefully be back with us for the next race, and he is 1 point ahead of Jason, who's in 13th on 6 points. SRI, Tyler and Hayes still yet to score. Okay, next up, as we mentioned earlier, it is the Suzuka Grand Prix circuit, the medium compound tyre. It's going to be a tricky one. We could see multiple stops there again, and then after that it's the kind of odd one out really, Yamagiwa with the hard compound tyre. Very interesting to see how the next two races are going to go. There's only one way to find out how it's going to go, and that is to join us for all of the action next time. So have a good one everybody, and we'll see you all again soon.